Good evening, everybody. It is the evening of September 8th, and you are here for another episode of Market Watch. You always have to wait for it. Hang on. There it is. There's the sheep. I don't know how or why that sheep got put in there, but you know what? I'm a pretty big fan of it. Welcome, everybody. As you can tell, once again, when the show is not run by Evan nor by Alex, and it is run by me, it is always just kind of a knuckleball pitch as to where it's really going to end up in the batter's box. And a lot
it's
of
Doug's fault.
I'm not. No. I have no comment here. I'm staying away from tech. I'm here. I'm in my spot.
I'm here in my space, in my dojo. But somehow, some way, everybody, we always manage to put on a hopefully a good, fun, educational show for you guys. Sometime that we'll see. How's the day going, Alex? I spoke with you in the morning, but well, I know how your day was. So actually, Doug, how was your day?
It was good. Getting caught back up from a long weekend. I'm still a little tired because I'm old, but you know, I did. We went to Waterloo to see a concert, which was Waterloo. Oh my gosh, Woodstock, Waterloo.
Very different.
For me, yes, that was it was a good time. Went to the museum up there, saw Blink-182 because you know why not. And yeah, I'm still recovering a little bit, but I'm here.
Nice, man. Well, glad you're here. And there is one bit of news I want to quickly touch on before we get to our honored guest on tonight's episode. And one is a huge news about a scam. So Alex is a hack in the crypto space, and all of crypto is doomed, and crypto Twitter is all asunder with this hack. And yet the markets were green, so everything's most likely fine. Alex, can you please provide some spotlight on this?
Yeah, it's all over.
There you go.
We're doomed. It's all going to zero. No, there was a very scary sounding piece of news that came out today, and in the news's defense, it is the single biggest like NPM hack, or not hack, really exploit ever. However, it was extremely short-lived. It was caught relatively quickly by the developer who reported it, and then by NPM. And it was all of the corrupted data sets, or packages, as they're called, were removed. So in a tiny nutshell, if you saw the alert that we sent out today, that was really just to warn people just in case. And then I had a whole bunch of updates in Circle throughout the day. But basically what happened, and I'm not making this up, I wish I was, but honestly, this should make you guys all feel better, because this can literally happen to anybody. One of the core engineers at NPM, which don't ask me what that stands for, got phished. They were sent a bad link alerting them that their account was going to be deleted if they didn't update to something or other. They clicked the update. He said it was stupid. He doesn't know why he did it. Was stressed, rushed, made a hasty call, whatever. And a whole bunch of corrupted packages were installed. And then they subsequently got downloaded billions of times in the 2 hours that the exploit was live. And the good news is it's over now. And overall, barely anything was stolen. Like less than $100 was actually found to have been removed to any of the attackers' trace wallets, at least that we're aware of. And yeah, so we're all good. But the story was grabbed and it exploded on crypto Twitter, including a post from the CTO of Ledger, who, in my humble opinion, I'm not an engineer, but I talked to a few very smart engineers today about this. Seems like it might have been a capitalization on a crisis to try to sell some ledgers. That's kind of how I'm reading it.
No, they can't wait to be a crisis.
Because the punchline of his post was basically, don't do anything on chain with a hot wallet. If you're using a software or a hard wallet, check the transaction. And the reason he said that is because the thing that was downloaded into these packages basically created an exploit possibility with on-chain transactions called clipping, which is basically where you go to send a transaction, and at the last second, the address is switched with a fake one that is only like a character or two different from the address you were trying to send it to. So even if you're like looking and checking first six, last six kind of a thing, you could very easily miss it. This is not like a new thing. They didn't invent clipping just for this attack, but that's what they were trying to do. So the thinking was, like, if you went to approve a transaction, you might hastily approve the wrong one because you got clipped and then lose your funds. So anyway, should be all good. I'm expecting a lot of technical write-ups on Twitter to pop up over the next day or two. I sent this to a couple friends of mine who are longtime engineers, and one of them just immediately sent me back a bug like patch report and then wrote LOL. And I was like, okay, so seems to be much ado about nothing.
It's funny you say the speculative part there, because when I read it and I saw the CEO's tweet after, I'm like, this is a layup. It's like, it's very well written, where it's almost like, and then like that stuck out to me. Like I didn't read the whole thing. I'm like, oh, okay, if you had this, you'd be good. You have this. I'm like,
Yeah, it's always an opportunity to sell something. But we always like to make fun of what happens on crypto Twitter, which is one of the reasons why we started on TikTok, right? We're on all the socials. But one TikTok creator who I followed a long time ago, who is our guest tonight, who then got the boot off of TikTok, started building on other social medias, found a home, and has really dominated the crypto space over on Instagram, is Danielle, aka CryptoCrush. So I'm going to bring her on right here, everybody. Hello, Danielle. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, of course. Happy to have you on. So would love to get your take on the market as whole, since this is Market Watch. But first, I'd love to get you an opportunity to introduce yourself to our audience, because even before I saw any content from Alex or any content from Evan, and I was introduced to Doug and his bathroom, I really thought like you were the only, and I'm not trying to just like, glaze for the purpose of glazing, right? This is just like props where props are due. You were the only crypto content creator I saw on TikTok who I thought was doing a genuinely good job communicating value to people. And I was like, she's just like me, but better at everything. I was like, I need to start making more content like this. So you were a breath of fresh air on TikTok, and it's a damn shame that your TikTok account was taken down, because our audience would have loved you here as well. But would love to hear, how you got into crypto and how you got into content creation.
Yeah, I started crypto maybe at the top end of 2017. So I got into that cycle kind of. I was under 18 at the time. I think I was like 16 or 17. Had to get my dad to, or convince my dad to buy Bitcoin, which was a very interesting conversation to try and convince him to buy digital money that doesn't exist. It's only on the internet, yada, yada, yada. So that was a fun conversation. But ever since then, I got really interested in crypto, and obviously went into a bear market. My $200 that I put into Bitcoin went down to nothing. But I caught the bug, and then I started to learn how to trade Forex. So I started learning technical analysis and how to trade on the Forex market. And then when COVID hit, I realized that there was an opportunity here to reinvest a lot of the capital that I'd been creating in my 9-to-5 corporate job and reinvest that into cryptocurrency. So I started trading and investing like every beginner does in XRP. And that's how I got my start. And I started trading Ethereum, Bitcoin, and XRP.
I was going to say, I started with Ethereum.
Same.
And yeah, Ethereum was my gateway drug.
Yeah. My headphones are really annoying at the moment. Hang on. I'm going to try and take them off.
All good.
I was definitely not buying Bitcoin at 16, 17 years old. I was doing other things. I wish I was. I definitely wish I was.
I actually first heard about Bitcoin when it was like the Silk Road mess was going on, and I was still in high school. So it would have been 2012 or 2013. And I remember just being like, I remember being in the car and I heard it on the radio and I went, oh yeah, digitized money. That makes sense. Just kept on going. I was so close. I was one step away from buying Bitcoin so early. But yeah, so Daniel, you got into XRP and you did not become a XRP Marine?
No, I ended up trading it really well because it was ranging between 20 cents and 40 cents back in 2020 for a really long time. And then I just stacked XRP and I sold it all at 75 cents, like a month before the SEC law case. So I was really lucky in that, where I just sold off all of my XRP and then I rotated that into like Ethereum at $400. Bitcoin was at like, I don't know, 10,000, 13,000, something like that at that point. And then I bought a bunch of Cardano at like 10 cents. And then obviously ETH went to like 4K and Cardano went to $3 and Bitcoin went to all-time highs at that point. So that was kind of what got my start in the crypto space. And I did really well. And I took profits, didn't take enough profits, of course. It was my first cycle. Learned a lot of things, deep dived into DeFi. I did every single DeFi yield farming, staking thing you could possibly think of. Some that turned out to be rugs, others turned out to be legitimate. And just learn all I could about, decentralized finance, because I just thought that was going to change the world, and it is going to change the world. So at 19, 20, it just blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. And then, bear market hit, and I just was continuing to wanting to work in the space. And I ended up working for some big crypto exchanges. So I worked with KuCoin for a while, BitGet for a while, Swissborg, and kind of got to understand how the industry works, and how do you raise capital in this market? How do these crypto exchanges make money? How do you list projects? All the ins and outs of how a project works during the bear market, and then working in the industry. And then I just started posting on TikTok, super random. I got really interested in central bank digital currencies. I thought this is something people should know about. This is, going to completely change the banking system. And it was something that no one was talking about. And I just wondered why. And I thought, well, I'm just going to do a video on CBDCs, post it on TikTok, because I was just super passionate about it, and then ended up going viral. That video got over 100,000 views, and I got 10,000 followers overnight. And then that was it. I was like, okay, well, it looks like people want to hear more about crypto, so that's what I'm going to do.
God, I wish I had sold a single thing in my first cycle. B, I wish my first video had 100,000. It was a grind for about 2 years to get to about 5,000. Oh man. But what I'm really curious to learn more about is how you made that switch from, trading and finding success and then getting jobs in the crypto industry. Because a lot of people in our community, and in yours, I'm sure as well, are always interested, like, hey, this crypto space is really cool, but like, how do I get into it? How do I make it my full-time job? So how did you make that switch?
So I started producing content, and I realized, and I come from a marketing and social media background. That was my 9-to-5 corporate job. And I realized that there's a huge gap in the market where a lot of crypto projects are negating short form platforms like Instagram and TikTok. They're very focused on Twitter. They spend millions of dollars on ads online, but no one's focusing on like the organic content side of things. And I was just very good at spamming a lot of the exchanges, and understanding who works for which exchange, and reaching out to them. So I would try and email them. I would, try and find them on LinkedIn. I would do reach outs. Like I would be messaging like hundreds of people every single day on LinkedIn, just being like, have you guys thought about TikTok? Have you guys thought about short form content? And I would just get on a bunch of calls and just be like, look, here's my TikTok. This is a proven system. There's people that are interested in crypto here, and none of you guys are on TikTok. So I kind of pioneered a lot of the crypto exchanges that are on TikTok now are probably on TikTok because I was the one banging at their door going, you guys should be on TikTok. So
well, Danielle, you got to pick up the phone again and call those people, because the content they're making is horrendous. It's awful. It's awful. It's so bad. Crypto.com is probably the worst. Kraken's might be the best, but I've seen some pretty bad stuff from them too. The last couple ones I saw weren't bad. However, they have turned comments off, and Coinbase should probably do the same, because I took screenshots of the last one that Coinbase made, and I've been meaning to make a video on it. They are being dragged. So you got to help them out.
This space, I still, even today, like as you were saying that, I'm like, it's the very similar scenario today. It's almost like I feel like no one tries, or there's a reason to try, and that it's a huge opportunity for anyone who wants to be persistent like you were through there to basically open up opportunities. And it's just actually, doing the thing, like send an email, like sending a couple, DMs. And if you don't get a message back, okay, keep trying, don't give up. Right. But that's a great story.
Mm-hmm. And then Daniel, good question here on YouTube from Moist Mike, who is a frequent commenter for us. But where did you learn trading? How'd you start?
So I actually, because my start was in Forex, I ended up getting into one of those multi-level marketing schemes where they were like, if onboard 2 people, you get your package for free, kind of thing. So I actually ended up learning
2 people's lives.
But that's how I got my start. So I don't know, maybe multi-level marketing works in some cases. But
you heard it here first, folks.
But the real like story behind it is I was at a real estate conference when I was 18, and I sat next to these 2 guys, and they just had the charts up, and I was like, what the hell is going on with their screen right now? I've got no idea. I've never seen this before. It's just like loads of like bar charts and all this and that. And I just asked them what they did, and they were like, oh, we're Forex traders. I was like, can you make money? And they were like, yeah. I was like, can you teach me? And they were like, yeah. So I joined the MLM. I can't even remember what it was called now. And they taught me how to trade and how to do TA for about a month or 2. And then I took it upon myself to self-teach myself. So I followed a bunch of, like YouTube channels back in the day. There was a guy called, what was his name? Like he's massive in XRP, something backer, XRP backer or something like that. Oh. And then Satoshi Stacker is another one. I think his TA is great. And then Ivan on Tech, I learned a lot from him.
Oh yeah, I got certifications in his certification course. I really liked them a lot.
Yeah, he's great. And then just self-taught myself. Me and my best friend, who's now our TA analyst in our group, we kind of just taught each other everything, and made a lot of money, lost a lot of money, and I've been doing TA for like 6 years now. So it's kind of just, you look at it every single day, and you start to learn, patterns and what makes a good trade and what doesn't. So it's just basically just learning over time.
Okay. And before this question slides too far back in the TikTok live, we got a question from Bob over here, which is, how did you start yield farming, and where would be a place that you would recommend now?
I started yield farming on Tron blockchain, which is like, why I did that, I don't know. I wouldn't recommend going on Tron. I think Justin Sun is like a clear scammer. But what I would do is, there's a lot of yield farming on Ethereum, which used to be quite good. But I would also probably look at like the Solana blockchain, has some pretty good stuff at the moment. I'm more in the camp of wanting to lend and borrow and go into that kind of like industry, supplying crypto that people can borrow against, and then you make a decent yield off the back of that. That's a little safer, and you can use protocols like Aave, which has got billions of dollars locked inside, and has got a track record. Or even Morpho, for example. Morpho's just crossed $10 billion in total value locked. That's a really good protocol backed by Coinbase. There's definitely going to be some opportunities there to take hold of. So just using reputable platforms, because back in the day when I didn't know anything, I was just yield farming all these random protocols that ended up being rug pulls because they were offering 1,000% APY, which is just unsustainable. So if you can find good platforms that can yield 7 to 10% a year, then that's profitable in my opinion, and sustainable.
Yeah, and a lot better than you keeping money in your checkings account.
Absolutely.
And so now I have a lot of people asking like, oh, hey, what's your TikTok and all that? So everybody, she does not have a TikTok. So Danielle, I know you've given this story a number of times, but you want to give your story about starting at TikTok, being let down by the TikTok machine, as I think just about every content creator is eventually at least one time in their career. Woo! And where you found a home, which is Instagram. And I'd love to also get your opinion on just like how the culture might be different from crypto TikTok, crypto Twitter, crypto Instagram, YouTube as well. I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I started on TikTok in 2022 during the bear market when no one was around. So really built in the trenches, ended up garnering around 70,000 followers over the next couple of years. And I believe it was February of 2024. Obviously everything was going fine. I was producing content. I had a really good community. I think that was the closest I'd felt to my community for a while. I was going live like twice a week. And then my account just started to get like spam botted. And I kept getting loads of reports, and then all of my videos got taken down. And then I kept like, you know, putting in for a review and then getting my account back. And then literally 2 days later, it would get banned again, put it in for review, get it back. Same thing would happen, to the point where I got permanently banned. And it was a scammer, like a blackmailer that messaged me on Telegram and was like, oh, you know, you need to give me $10,000 to get your TikTok account back. And I was like, first of all, that's not how that works. Second of all, he was just threatening me. He was like, I'll take your Instagram down. Oh, he took my Instagram down, actually. He took both of them down, TikTok and Instagram. Yeah, I managed to get my Instagram back because I've, like I said, in my previous job, I worked a lot with Meta and Instagram, so I had contacts over there, but no contacts on TikTok, unfortunately. And anyway, yeah, got blackmailed and got my TikTok taken down and never got it back, unfortunately.
Damn. Well, you know, I told you already, and everyone in the audience probably knows this, that same extortionist hit me up, and I told him to eat a bag of dicks, and he got my account banned. And for 2 months it was gone. And then it was actually a community member of ours, Joe, who's a fantastic community member, one of our most active. And she's basically like our mom in the group. And, you know, she found somebody on TikTok through another live who helped them through a similar situation, go through help. So thanks to your community member, Joe, I know you're like probably already sending me a text message right now being like, you have to get her in touch. She already has the contact info of the agency group that helped me. So Danielle, if you want to get back to TikTok, hopefully you can.
I am actually. I'm launching my TikTok in October. So that's.
Oh, I was about to say. All right, sweet. What's the name on TikTok going to be?
I don't know yet, because as you know, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of copycats of my account that have used every conceivable possible username that has anything to do with CryptoCrush at the moment. So I actually don't know what I'm going to call it, but I'll let you guys know when I do.
Awesome. And then for folks here, if you don't want to wait till October and you have Instagram, you can find Danielle here at CryptoCrush Show. Keep your eyes open for the blue check mark, the 251,000 followers. Her page looks way more professional than ours.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. But Danielle, since we had a conversation, I have booked time with a videographer, and as well as like a studio set and everything. So I am looking to step up my game and take your advice as well. So I appreciate that.
Can I ask a question here?
Oh, yeah.
Danielle, I'm curious, how many markets do you trade generally? Let's say right now, how many markets are you tracking? Like, is it less than 10? Is it 10 to 25? Is it more than 25?
When you say markets, are you
say
talking
like a Bitcoin's a market, Solana's a market.
Oh, I track quite a few. I mean, the main ones being, if I get my trading view up, I'll just.
And I'm more generally curious on, like, guys are pulling up just that, because I'm always curious on how many different types of markets folks are tracking on a given basis. Roughly, they're the primary ones you're looking at, and especially you coming from a Forex background. I know it's a smaller subset that's there, and honestly, I kind of envy folks who do that, because it's like, oh, if you just watch a couple things over and over again, you eventually start seeing it. But like me, I'm like, no, I want to look at 1,000 charts. I want to look at every single chart out there, but it's not effective. So I'm curious for someone like yourself. How many you look at?
The main markets that I look at is Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, just because those are the big three. And I like to track the dominance against each other as well. So I track a lot of like ETH BTC, and I'm also tracking Sol ETH as well at the moment, because there's like a little bit of a flippening going on. I look at the total market cap. I look at total 3. I look at Bitcoin dominance. I look at USDT dominance as well, which is like a pretty big one. That basically indicates to me whether people are buying or selling in the market. So those are kind of the main markets that I look at on a daily basis. And then there's some altcoins that I'm kind of quite bullish on. So, for example, I'll look at Hyperliquid and I'll look at Sui and things like that. So, I do look at quite a fair few markets. To be honest.
Hey, I'm just curious. That's so I feel good. We're on the same page then. So I feel validated that I'm just all over the place. And I do have 30 charts open in front of me up here on the screen, so I'm not crazy.
Is one of them beef?
No, I don't have beef open right now.
Wow.
One thing before I forget, Danielle, check out. I started shifting to a stable.c.d, which is essentially USDT dominance plus the Circle dominance. Basically, it's all the stable coins into one.
Oh.
So it kind of it's actually lately been super interesting to me because it's varying a lot from just the one dominance itself. Because I think Tether makes up, I want to say like half of the total stable coins, which is probably 4.5% off the top of my head. But the stable coin or stable.c.d is like 8 to 10%. So it's a different view, but just put it out there anyway.
Do you know what's interesting about USDT, which I only just found out maybe like a couple weeks ago, is that USDT holds like 80% of the trading volume of stable coins as opposed to USDC, right? So that's pretty crazy. And that just shows that USDC is used more for storage than it is for trading. So yeah, that's just an interesting statistic that I found out about like the other day. I was like, oh, cool, interesting.
I think USDC too is a lot more localized just to the US, as an American company, but then as soon as you leave and go outside the US, you're way more likely to cross someone who would hold Tether. Plus, I mean, a lot more altcoins on a lot more dexes, I guess, generally hold Tether pairs than they do hold pairs with USDC. It's only been more recently that I've actually started to be able to find like more USDC pairs with stuff. But I feel like that was all like within the last year and a half.
I think it's probably because Europe have come in with their MiCA regulations. They banned Tether, didn't they? So all of the European exchanges have had to like scramble to basically create USDC pairs for all of them. So I do think that it's slowly changing. I think the dominance for USDT is going to reduce over time. But it'd be interesting to see how USD1 plays into that as well, because that's relatively new.
Yeah, curious.
Yeah, Doug, what was the name of that trading view chart again?
Stable.c. Hold on, now make sure I'm double check it. Yes, stable.c.c. Sorry, .c.d. Charlie Delta. Stable.charlie.delta.
Okay, and if you guys need that again, tag us in the Circle community, and we'll get it to you because I need to check that out as well. Danielle, also what's interesting about Tether is that we have had the co-founder of Tether, William Quigley, DJ Willie Quiggs, on the show 3 or 4 times now. The last time he was on the show, he was in Colorado, and he literally chased a black bear out of his backyard. We were like, oh my God, the co-founder and also co-founder of Wax has chased the bear market away because the market was like, a little rare. Yeah, so it's on there. It's on YouTube. There's proof of it. But yeah, you're welcome, everybody. We chased the bear market. The markets agree, and it's because of this show and DJ Willie Quiggs, who is also a DJ. But Alex, I know you have some questions for Danielle about culture. So fire away.
I just had just a couple quick ones for you, Danielle, before I get out of the way and let you guys just do more market stuff, as is obviously the topic of this whole show. But given that you create primarily on Instagram now, and you've been there for a hot minute. For the record, I do remember you. I think you and I started on TikTok in a very similar time frame because I remember you before you got banned. We never really had any interactions, but I remember you were one of the few that I used to see come up on the feed every now and then. I had no clue what I was doing at that point. I was just like throwing things at the wall, and I go back and look at those videos that I posted at that point, and I just cringe. But
I wish I had my videos. Like I always say to a lot of people, they're like, how did you get your start? I'm like, I wish I had my old videos because they were so bad. I used to have like cyberpunk green screen, like, it was intense.
Nice.
But,
I just had a bot like one of mine from like 4.5 years ago, almost 5 years ago, probably the other day. And so it came up in my notifications and I watched it, and like the music was so loud. I couldn't even hear my own voice. I was talking so slowly. I wasn't looking at the camera. I was like, that camera was like up in this weird angle. So I'm like staring up into this, like it was mounted in the corner of my room. And I was just, it was such a hard watch. I was like grimacing looking at it, but you know what? It's a mark of evolution, I guess. But I was curious just because, on TikTok, you have a handful of categories that are just like pretty much always what comes up. More common questions would be about how to safely get into cold storage, or we talk about earning interest a lot. The idea of yield farming is has been super popular. XRP popularity as a brand, massive.
Yeah.
The second you get outside Twitter, it's the most popular thing anywhere. And I'm curious if Instagram is the same, or have you noticed that there are like Instagram specific things that were like very different from when you initially made the transition from TikTok to Instagram? Like what are people more interested in there versus everywhere? And the big like overarching reason I ask this is because I've been void screaming for years about how crypto Twitter is like kneecapping the industry more than anything else, because people believe that's like the heart and soul of the whole industry, when really it's just 10,000 people talking to each other and no one else looks at them. So I'm curious, just because obviously there's way more people looking at this stuff on Instagram than there are on Twitter.
Yeah, I think pretty much all of the topics that work on TikTok work on Instagram, because what I did is when I first started, I full ported all of my TikTok videos that I had available to me over to Instagram, and I got 50,000 followers within the like first 2 months of posting, because I was posting like 5-6 times a day of like all old videos. Gotcha. So that was a tried and tested method to be like, okay, clearly what works on TikTok works on Instagram. You're right. Anything to do with XRP, anytime I do a video on XRP, it's like instantly 6-figure views pretty much every single time. What I try and kind of do a lot of the time, which is something that a lot of people in this industry don't do, is I don't take, sponsorships. I don't shill coins. I don't do, oh my God, XRP is going to $10,000. Like all of that kind of content, I completely avoid, because I just think it's reputational damage, and just I want to protect my audience as much as possible and just be realistic. So that's why I tend to focus on like the macroeconomics and like charts and, more specific, tangible stuff that people can take away from. And I think people appreciate the education around that, and not me just going, buy this coin, it will make you a millionaire. Like that doesn't make any sense. But that type of content's on TikTok and it works on Instagram as well. So it kind of both works within that. But yeah, usually if I talk about anything to do with macroeconomics or Trump or politics, anything like that, even though I'm like neutral when it comes to politics, that tends to do very well, because obviously, the Trump family, World Liberty Financial, him being in presidency, any kind of content around that tends to do quite well on Instagram as well. I do think that Instagram has a slightly more sophisticated audience. I do think that a lot of the people on TikTok are of the younger generation, Gen Z. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. I do think that there should be education around crypto investing and all that on TikTok, and that's amazing. That's where I got my start, because I am Gen Z. But I do feel that Instagram is a little bit more mature. There's a lot of business owners. There's a lot of people in, higher roles, executives, business owners, etc. So the conversations tend to be a little bit more sophisticated on Instagram. So that's kind of the major differences between the two.
Yeah, with our audience mostly being on TikTok, we actually have about 50% of our audience is over the age of 40. I think it's about 40% over the age of 40 as well.
More than that, yeah.
Yeah. It's more than that now. So there's definitely a wide range of people on TikTok. And I found that the general topics that you cover on TikTok do well on Instagram. For whatever reason, my videos don't. But Evan's videos do. And if Alex ever one day posts on our company Instagram page, then, that would be great. And I think Bearded also said, hey, Alex, did you hear that? She posts 5 to 6 times a day.
Listen, Bearded, not you too. Okay, I thought we were friends.
Not you too. Also getting a lot of positivity in the comments from people saying, say what? Not shielding, subscribed. I would really recommend it.
Yeah, Danielle, it's a running joke that I will freely admit I'm an awful creator right now. I'm not doing anything, just because between how much time we spend streaming and then every other like waking second I'm working, unfortunately. I'm just like, and I'm moving at the same time. I'm like buying one house, selling another house, and moving, and all this is done in like 10 days. And then I can get back to my life. But I think I've posted, Will, you made a comment the other day that you've posted like 100 and some odd videos in the last month.
It was 162, I think, in 30 days.
Yeah. I haven't posted 162 videos this year. I don't think. It's been rough.
Yeah. Well, we'll get you there.
We're getting there.
Yeah,
I'll be back someday.
No. Danielle, switching topics a little bit more so towards market watch, markets, trading, and all that kind of stuff. 2 questions to kind of get us ready to start pulling up some charts is, what are your favorite narratives that really get you excited either as a trader or user? And then also, without the answer being Ethereum or Solana, what is your favorite non-Ethereum or Solana kind of like network coin play, platform play?
Oh, good question. I think for me, probably Sui makes the most sense to me. I've been following Sui since it was at a $200 million market cap. I got into it like super early, and I've been tracking a lot of the TVL, like how it's, how it's been growing and the partnerships that it's had. And I think it's just super solid. It's very VC heavy, which, can be a good thing, can be a bad thing, but typically VC coins tend to do quite well. And I do see that there's, a slight correlation with when Solana does well, Sui does well. So I'm like heavy into Solana, but I diversified into Sui very early in 2023. So yeah, the correlation between the two has been really good, and I've been tracking that. So I'd probably say Sui. The narratives that I really like, tokenization of real world assets, I just think is obviously the main sort of like sector that gets me very excited. We're seeing a lot of stocks being tokenized on blockchains now, which is really, really good to see. We just saw a bunch of stocks be tokenized on Ethereum recently. Same thing with Solana. And obviously you've got Biddle, which is BlackRock's RWA platform that's, being built on ETH and Sol. So I think Larry Fink tends to lead exactly what's going to happen in the future and where the money's going to flow. And, he's been talking about RWA for a really long time. He's been, really kind of pumping it in a sense. So it only makes sense that RWA sector is going to flourish over the next 5 years. Does that mean that RWA coins are going to perform well? That's another question and another thing that we need to analyze. But from a future proofing perspective, like RWA is kind of where it's at. And then the other sector that I've been bullish on since 2020 is DeFi, decentralized finance. Very bullish on lending and borrowing platforms. I still think Aave is a really good option. I think there's obviously lending and borrowing within different ecosystems. Like Camino has just come along. Morpho's brand new. That's got, like I said before, $10 billion in TVL. You can just see the money being pumped into DeFi. And then we're also seeing institutions move into DeFi as well with, of course, you've got World Liberty Financial, which is one of the biggest projects that has just showcased to us that institutions are interested in this. They've ported millions and millions of dollars into World Liberty Financial, billions of dollars into their new USD1 coin. So it's very apparent to me that these two sectors, and they merge together very nicely, that these two are going to be probably the two most solid sectors over the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, and that's about pretty much what we're seeing as well. We also have a love for the Web3 gaming space too. Personally, I think that's the avenue that gets consumers in as opposed to institutions. As well as, the merchandise and things. I think you'll have a lot of companies copy what Pudgy Penguins have done too and get into toys and merchandise and do more IP stuff off of NFT collections if they can. So I think you'll have a big expansion there too. But otherwise, yeah, DeFi, tokenization of real world assets, anything around stable coins and getting interest off of those, payment processing are huge, massive plays. And typically when Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, who's probably the most powerful person in the world, or at least in the top 5, wants something to happen, well, odds are it's probably going to happen, right?
Quick question there, follow up here. So Solana, you're probably Solana native for the most part. Did you say that, Danielle?
Yeah, I've been, on Solana for a while now. It's the number one kind of platform that I use. It's the easiest to onboard. And obviously, I think hundreds of thousands of people joined the Solana ecosystem when Trump launched its coin. So, there's just the mass adoption on Solana is great. And it's just so much easier to use. I remember doing DeFi on Ethereum and I was like, banging my head against the wall. I'm like, why is it costing me $100 to do a transaction? Like, why is it so slow? Why is it so inefficient? So love ETH, but I view it as similarly to the Yahoo and Google situation. I see Ethereum as the Yahoo and I see Solana as the Google. Eventually there's going to be a crossover where I think Solana actually probably will flip Ethereum at some point. Not going to happen this cycle, but I think if ETFs come in and institutional money starts to pile into Solana and they really look at the tech, they'll realize that, Solana just makes a lot more sense from an efficiency play. So yeah,
I like that comparison. I use Solana as more Apple or Mac OS versus ETH is like a Windows or Linux or something like that. But quick 2 questions then. So on Solana, so did you dabble at all in NFTs early on Solana? And
no, not on Solana. I was big on the ETH ecosystem. Yeah, I did some NFT stuff early on. Like I saw when Bored Apes got minted, and I saw them at 1 ETH, and I was like, that's so expensive. Like, why are people buying these like JPEGs for an Ethereum? And then I got into Pudgies pretty early, ended up selling that because this was like early days. I think probably before Luca was even involved.
When it was a scam.
Yeah. Scam. Yeah.
I wish I kept my Pudgy now, but hindsight 2020.
But that one I don't beat myself up for so much just because it was a straight up scam. Like no one had any idea that Luca was going to pop out of the ground and acquire it and turn it around like that. Like it was a straight rug.
Yeah, I should have jumped back in. I was at a mastermind with Luke Belmar. He's a big investor in Pudgy Penguins. And he was saying, just buy a Pudgy now. I think they were at like 4 ETH or something like that, 4 or 5 ETH. I was like, wish I did it.
I just bought a little Pudgy last week because I was like, hey, it was like 1.25 ETH. And I was just like, I just want exposure to this brand. So get me in.
Yeah. No, he's doing a great job. I think like it's $1 billion brand, like no doubt.
Yeah. And last question for me. Then now, being in Solana, do you dabble in the memes at all, or are you primarily more on the DeFi side of the equation?
The only big play that we did was the Trump coin. We got into that like extremely early. We're talking, I think it was like 200 mil or something like that. Like it was very early, within the first hour that he'd released the coin. We don't do meme coins. I don't like them necessarily. I don't think I see them as NFTs. I see them as, they're great for culture and narrative now, but in the bear market, like a lot of them, 99% of them are gonna disappear. Exactly. So that's the way that I see it. So with the Trump coin, we saw an opportunity because this is the president of the United States. There's no way that he's actually created his own meme coin. Like there's no way, like this is impossible. And then we did all of the research and we were like, oh my God, this is actually his coin. So we ended up getting into that. And we sold literally at the top, which was like insane timing. But that's the only big meme play that we've done. And that's because we saw that this was a little bit bigger than just like a normal meme coin launch. So yeah, but in general, I try and stay away from them because I just don't think that they have any use case or utility necessarily. And also, I do realize that, and you guys probably know this, that a lot of these meme coins are just rotated by KOLs posting about them, pumping the coin, and then like selling off and leaving retail in the red, down 80%. I have clients that come into my group and every single time they come in, all of their meme coin bags are down 80% because they just got in too late and they got dumped on by a bunch of KOLs that were pumping the tokens. So that's why I stay with them.
Doug, before you go, I got a question here that said, what is a KOL? That is a key opinion leader. It's an influencer. So it's an influencer, person on the internet. the term influencer became poo-pooed, and so we transitioned to key opinion leader. It's an
My favorite take on KOLs was the other day. I forget who it was. Someone on Twitter said, "Love how." Or like the worst thing about KOLs is that none of them have any opinions. They just post a piece of breaking news and then ask for everyone else's thoughts while offering nothing. And I was like, God, that is. And since then, you just can't unsee the breaking news. What do we think this means? And I'm like, God, you are definitely worth $20,000 a post.
So it's so funny now too with the KOLs, and one day we have to do a section on memes, just to talk about them. And I actively am in the memes only because like I same way I viscerally hate them for the space horrible, but it's just that the markets move so much, and like I like that they're active. And again, I'm contributing to the problem, but whatever, it's all going to end sometime soon anyway. So let's just do that. But the KOL piece of the equation, it's actually been so different. Like now, KOLs are not even a factor as much as they were, let's say, a year ago. Now it's much more because everyone's got more tech. It's just following wallets, and now indirectly could be a KOL, but they're not even tweeting anymore. There's not even like callers anymore. So they still exist, but the impact of that is much different. And it's just interesting how much the space has changed over time. And if you ever do want a video recording, I have a screen recording of the Trump token launching at a $500 million all the way up to the top. Because I was thinking the same thing, like this is a rug. I'm actually going to screen record this because I want to share it after. I'm going to make a video of it, and it never happened. Well, then it did eventually, but I have 20 minutes of the screen recording of the whole entire thing happening. I'm like, all right, cool. So I don't have this, and but
yeah, no, I agree. I think KOLs have less to do, but you can see it. Like I'm not going to shout anything out right now, and I'm not going to call anyone out, but I'm seeing one particular cryptocurrency that is being shilled heavily right now, where apparently it's backed by XRP and it's the next RWA token, yada, yada, yada. I did some deep dive research, and a lot of the claims are false. And that's what like rubs me the wrong way, is that, you know, a lot of the stuff that people are saying online it's not legitimate. And yeah, that's what I don't like about it. Like, if you want to talk about a coin, absolutely fine, no problem, but just make sure that the information is correct.
I can't wait to go back to a time, and I'm hoping this is my 2027, 2028 is the next where it'll be more enterprises actually using NFTs in the supply chain, like actually it's like real tokenization. I can't wait till people go back to actually caring about stuff. Like, I saw a roadmap the other day, which was an actual roadmap, and I'm like, this is good. There's a white paper. This is nice, but no one cares about it anymore at all. One day it'll come back, hopefully, at least.
Danielle, how many proposals do you get sent to you in a month to shill a coin?
Oh my God, I get them every day.
Yeah.
Every single day. I had a guy text me the other day and was like, I will give you $20,000 to do 3 Instagram reels. And I was like, no. Like, it's crazy. And I'm very fortunate that I am in a position to be able to turn down like that amount of money. But there's other people and other KOLs that won't turn that down. Like, that's that's life-changing wealth for a lot of people. So I completely understand why people do this and they take deals like that. But for me personally, I just think I think long term. I've been in this space for a very long time. I've been creating content for a very long time, and I will continue to do so for the next 5, 10, 20 years. I don't want to be known as that person that just shilled a bunch of shit. Like, I just don't think that that's good for my reputation. And I want to be credible. And eventually, if I do anything outside of crypto, I want to make sure that, you know, my reputation is intact. So I get asked every single day, multiple coins, different things, meme coins, non-meme coins, all of this. And I just say no.
Yeah. I have started thinking about being like, what if I say yes under the speculation that I'm like, I will only shit on your project and you will pay me for it. I was like, well, then it's maybe okay, because I'm telling everybody how much of a dumpster fire it all is. I was like,
a lot of them try to send you a script.
A lot of them would say, I feel like a lot of them would say yes.
They send you scripts? I feel so dirty. I would feel so dirty. Like,
I've had people say like, hey, we want you to say this. The video should tell them this. Don't say this part. Don't disclose that you're getting paid. And I'm like, that's That's cool. We're just like sliding into my DMs to propose a crime. But I guess I appreciate the audacity.
It's only a crime if you look and know the law, Alex.
Yeah. Yeah, try that one on in a courtroom and let me know how that goes for you, Will.
Yeah. Oh.
Listen, I'm gonna hop down and let you guys do some more chart stuff. I just wanted to chat a little bit with you, Daniel, about like the content stuff specifically, just because I know that you've been around the block for a hot minute, working and all this kind of stuff, and I think it's super interesting to talk to people who create primarily on platforms that are not Twitter, just because it's I mean, whatever. You guys hear me bitch about that all the time. But I appreciate you. What's that?
It's not unwarranted bitching, though.
No, that's fair. But, you know, it probably gets old after a little bit. But I appreciate you making the time to come on. I'm going to stop bogarting Market Watch. Thanks for letting me hang out with you guys tonight.
Yeah, of course. And Daniel, do you have some time to do some charting with us, or do you have to run?
No, yeah, I'm all good. Let's do it.
Okay, perfect. Well, hey, before we go into the charts, quick little commercial again, because I was getting the request over on TikTok of what your Instagram was. So if you guys want to find her stuff, and she will be coming to TikTok again in October, which we are all very excited for. But it is CryptoCrush Show over here on Instagram. Snag a quick little screenshot if you guys want to know over on Instagram. Looks like this. Keep your eyes open for the blue check mark and also the 251,000 followers. So go over there, give her a follow. She posts great content. And when she does come over here to TikTok, we will let you guys all know. Now, Danielle, when you start taking a look at markets and charting and you're like, hey, what's the day going? Is there any place that you start other than Bitcoin?
Oh, well, I was about to say Bitcoin. Probably Ethereum would be my next one that I would look at the moment. Before it was Solana, but I think because Ethereum has dominated since April, my second port of call usually is ETH.
Okay, yeah. Typically, I go Bitcoin and then Bitcoin dominance, and then I'll take a look at Ethereum, Solana, and I'll take a look at XRP too because it's such a large market cap, and it's good to make a video on. But guys, we'll do a quick update on some of those big coins as well. We'll take a quick look at the stock market also. Anything else that it piques our fancy, and then we'll start taking suggestions in from you guys of particular coins that you want us to take a look at. So let me share my screen real quick.
And my process: Fartcoin, then gold. That's all you do.
Yeah, no, I was about to say, sorry, Doug, I didn't get you an opportunity to share.
Right. I see how it is. That's right.
Fartcoin. It's okay. And then go look at gold.
Well, no one appreciates my craziness.
I mean, it's kind of been working.
Well, so I will say Fartcoin this month has been a little not as much guidance as before, but we'll see. Anyway, you do Bitcoin.
Yes. Oh wait, that's the weekly chart. Let me get the daily chart here, and Doug, if you can get a screen share for me.
Oh, yeah, I got you.
I got you. All right, so everyone can see here. So we've been in this channel here for Bitcoin for quite some time. You guys have been seeing the daily updates. And today what we saw an attempt to get above the 21-week exponential moving average, currently trying to find support on the 12-day exponential moving average. Overall, though, this is just more sideways chop here for Bitcoin. Our Moxie indicator, which Danielle, by the way, is an indicator that we got through the community from Simpler Trading. You got to pay for it, but in our experience, it's just like a better version of the MACD. But it's this here. So if it's below this white line, there's bearish momentum. If it's above the white line, there's bullish momentum. So we still have bearish momentum overall in the chart right here. And I'm still just seeing like more sideways consolidation. Like this is a nasty wick here. That is a double top. So we really want to see us come up and overtake this. I also had these additional lines on Bitcoin's chart. This light purple line, this dark purple line, and this gold line represent the largest liquidation zones on Bitcoin's chart from the CoinGlass Bitcoin liquidity heat map. So there is a financial incentive for the market to try to make a higher relative high here at $114.2 thousand. And then at that point, we'll see if Bitcoin has enough gas to continue into rate cut decisions being made on September 17th, or if it looks like it's going to get tired and the bearish momentum is going to win. But as of right now, I just kind of see more general sideways chop for Bitcoin as it tries to make a decision on what direction it wants to go. is my personal take on Bitcoin. With a lot of altcoins, I'm seeing some opportunity there as Bitcoin dominance continues to show some weakness. But Daniel, I'd like to get your thoughts on the Bitcoin chart right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty on par with what you're saying, just sideways chop. I don't think it has a clear direction at the moment. I am more in the camp of being slightly bearish on Bitcoin right now than bullish. I do think that we might do a little pop down back to that 106 area. It's looking like that might be the case. And also I'm seeing weakness in Ethereum as well. So I'm kind of more in the camp of Bitcoin and Ethereum being a little less dominant. And obviously Solana and a lot of alts have actually been performing a lot better than Bitcoin and ETH. So whilst they're staying stagnant and not really doing much, the other altcoins have started to have a little bit of a breather, or what could be a relief rally. But what I'm concerned about, well, not concerned, but we have big macro news like this week. We have the Trump tariff situation, which is on the 10th of September. And we've got the CPI and PPI. So it's just like pure volatility this week. Usually and typically, if we start bullish at the beginning of the week, we tend to reverse as well. So we've had kind of a bullish Monday. So I'm more in the camp that we might see a little bit of a reversal, and this could be, just a small relief rally, but we'll have to see.
That's what I generally expect right now as well. I'm not expecting anything too crazy out of the CPI and PPI, because if you look at the Fed CME, which for any of those who don't know, that's where the market and analysts are putting their, it's the legit predictions out for whether or not the US Fed is going to have rate cuts or rate hikes, like what decision they're going to make. And right now it is a 90.2% chance that we get a 25 basis point cut. And there is a 9.8% chance that we get a 50 basis point cut, which is a pretty massive swing from really just like a week ago, right? So do we get a small rate cut or like a medium-sized one, actually? And the other thing that I have on my radar screen is, and Dan, I think you said it, but I can't remember, was the Supreme Court still needs to take up whether or not Trump's tariffs are legal or illegal, and that end date is October 14th, I believe, is the end date for when the tariffs need to be removed. I think what happens is, if we're in a scenario where Trump's tariffs are deemed to be illegal by the Supreme Court, and I have no idea whether that's likely or not likely. I don't know which way the Supreme Court's going to go. I think you have this rally into a few days before rate cuts, and then this weakness we're seeing on Bitcoin chart and Ethereum's chart takes over. And you might even have a sell-off even a few days before rate cuts are announced. And then the market could even react negatively to a 50 basis point rate cut, being like, oh, wait, is the Fed really worried that they've lost control? So I think a 50 basis point cut is actually bearish, and the market reacts really extra negatively in case that happens. But then as the market slides, if the Supreme Court says these tariffs are illegal, you have about $70 billion from the government go back to the private sector, and you have profit margins immediately improve to the tune of at least 10% across the board for businesses, for some of them up to 20%. And then they can hire people again, and the unemployment problem is fixed. Inflation is reduced all at the same time, and then you have an opportunity for the markets to rally again. But, there are a lot of what ifs in that scenario. So Daniel, I'm curious to get your take on how you think markets might react to a 50 basis point cut if we were to get it, as well as to what the markets would do if on October 14th, tariffs are all pretty much wiped off across the board, except for steel and aluminum tariffs, or aluminum tariffs. I know how you guys say it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, to be honest. I think if they do become illegal and there's $70 billion back into everyone's pockets, then they're probably going to redeploy that. And there's going to be a percentage of that definitely goes into Bitcoin and crypto, and that would certainly start a rally. The 50 basis point situation, I never thought of it like that, but that kind of makes sense. That if they're going to that they're going to do that, then people might question, oh my God, why is it so aggressive? When he's been in the complete different camp the entire time of no, we're not cutting rates. So in an ideal scenario, I do think that we come down. I think, it's that whole thing of buy the rumor, sell the news kind of thing. So I think maybe we do have a little bit of a dip. I do think as well that especially Ethereum, I think there's a lot of cryptos that need some form of a retracement. Like ETH is up over 100% since April. It hasn't really had a big pullback. I think ETH needs to come down at least to 4,000, 3,800. Bitcoin's okay. Like I feel like Bitcoin has had like a decent retracement. It's already tapped 106. I do think that 100K Bitcoin could be probable if we do, have a sell-off. So we get that final reset, and then we move on up, because then once the rate cut has happened and markets calm down, and we have a clear indication of the tariff situation, then it only makes sense that Q4 would be bullish, in my opinion.
Gotcha. No, I totally agree. And Danielle, I would like to introduce you to, because I think your style of trading and my style of trading, like I use indicators and, patterns and stuff are similar. Doug's style of trading is one of the most magical, like it's vibe trading things I've ever seen, because he'll look at a chart and he draws a line. He goes, that looks good. And then he'll forget about the chart and he'll come back. And it was the perfect top and bottom, like 70% of the time. And I'm just like, how do you do this? He's like, I don't know, man. It just looks like it's going to do that. I'm just like, you don't use any indicators. Doug, I would love to have you pull up whatever chart you're interested in and introduce Danielle to Doug on vibe coding.
So I'm going to go with the vibe charting, because I don't the vibe trading part, because the charting piece to me is so much more exciting, to say the least, because it's like there's so many places to look. It's like, what's the thing that's the most attractive right now? I want to find the most attractive thing. Then the trading part's easy. But yeah, so I just like staring at patterns. I mean, that's what it comes down to, and just seeing how many things do repeat and how everything is primarily manipulated, which is why I also like memes for the most part. And again, I can make an argument for someone who wants to learn to read patterns to not trade but watch memes, because of how fast they move and how similar their market structures are in the first like 24 hours to a chart that's been around for like 3-4 years. And it's a thrill to me in a certain way. So anyway, I digress. So Fartcoin, this has been, in my opinion, the embodiment of the hellscape that has been crypto, of whatever this bull market has been since October 2023, roughly. It's like it just came out of the post, I think it was post WIF, which I think WIF was January 2024. Maybe it was actually November 2023, but around there. But it almost like was like, the Fartcoin, like I think CNBC mentioned Fartcoin at one point, or it was Forbes. Like that's where we're at. That's crypto in 2024, 2025. That's where we're at. So it almost was like it did and still does capture like everything that is crypto. And it's been a guidance for me for more of a leading indicator, especially to the downside. But as I'm saying that right now, I could make the argument that Bitcoin, ETH, and Sol. Bitcoin and ETH, both your points, probably the weakest. Sol looks strong, but like Fartcoin, I want a long Fartcoin right now, and I'm like, well, hey, that's going to basically say that Sol's going to pop here. Now, I'm not going to. Yeah. I have a stupid phone on my face here, so I can't really see well, but we're gonna try. We're gonna try here. But Fartcoin's is a very, very simple level, right? It's like you just kind of look through the mess here. If I can grab the stupid thing, bro. Here. So like Fartcoin, don't overcomplicate it. Once we get back above, I had to flip my screen here. That's what I got to do. Well, you should be like, Doug, there we go. Now I can see through my phone. Look at that. It's like I got vision now. Okay, now we're clear. So Fartcoin, just get above here. Get above here. Boom, gone. That's it. But as of right now, though, we are kind of coming up to resistance right here. So be very curious on what happens. Ideally, I want it to be down here. That's where I initially wanted. I thought crypto was going to go, and I think it's still going to go at some point, because this was a nasty weekly candle for Fartcoin. Losing this level, which was like 80, 90 cents. This whole area down here is just open, in my opinion. Still getting a chance to push back down there. But quickly going back to the macro conversation you're both having overall, my take right now is that I don't care what happens. I'm just waiting for the next thing to happen and then make your next move after that. Right. So it's like September, it's to me is almost like a if you let's put it this way, if you have things you have to do and it's like in October or November, if you can fast track those, do it this month. September is the worst month. Just don't worry about the markets. Let the nonsense happen. Tomorrow I think we're going to have a revision too on jobs for, was it last year? Well, I think it was for the whole year, which I think that may actually create some volatility. But all the things that are coming, the speculation, okay, like just bring it on, let it happen, and just make sure you're in a space to have capital. Preserve your capital. Don't get stuck in the chop that's here. And then once we get past that, I believe it's going to be like 6 to 8 weeks, 9 weeks of lock in, just basically run this thing out to the end of the year. And then, hey, if things keep going up next year, it's a bonus, but don't get too excited about that. Yeah. And just keeping it simple that way.
Here's the thing that I find kind of like a little odd when I'm looking at the charts right now is I see some weakness in Bitcoin. I see some weakness in Ethereum. And it could be a fall as simple as Bitcoin goes to 106K, Ethereum goes to 4K, just below 4K. But when I look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, which let's see, where is it here? Take a look at the Bitcoin dominance chart. It's showing me weakness, and this is Bitcoin dominance in the 8-hour. But let me just go to the daily, so it's a little bit more serious. We have this massive fall here with our short signals here for our MOX indicator, signifying that there was a changed momentum, and we have been in this wedge pattern here, and as Bitcoin and altcoins have been fighting, we had a false bullish breakout, and a false bullish breakout almost always then breaks the pattern to the downside completely. Almost always, like this pattern is basically invalidated. You're expecting it to break down, and so if that were to happen, you'd be expecting probably Bitcoin to be maintaining its price for the most part, or slightly going up, and then altcoins are really going up, right? Because they're winning market share. And when I look at the weekly time frame as well, and I see that there's a key exponential moving average, the 200 exponential moving average is just below. One more break below this pattern, and you probably have like about an extra 2.5% towards altcoins. It's showing me that there's strength here for altcoins, which is weird because if Bitcoin and Ethereum sell off a little bit, you should be seeing momentum to the upside on this chart. So it's a bit odd in my experience, and typically these things don't line up. So Daniel, I don't know if you have any thoughts to share on that, and just kind of like how you're reading the market, or if you've seen a similar situation like this and you have some experience to share.
Yeah, I'm in two minds at the moment with it, because I totally agree with what you're saying. And you can see that, some of the other altcoins are actually performing really well. Solana's really strong at the moment. Hyperliquid's really strong. Hyperliquid just broke its all-time high.
Yeah, Hyperliquid is
crazy.
Yeah, so there's a couple of outliers where the altcoins have, started to do really well. My whole thesis was that, okay, I'm looking at Ethereum. Ethereum looks weak. It needs a retracement. So my thinking was, okay, well, if Bitcoin kind of stays and chops and ETH goes down, then surely that should bring the rest of the market down with it, because ETH is the dominant altcoin right now. But what I'm seeing is that if you have a look at like the Sol ETH chart, you can see a flippening happening where actually Solana is gaining a lot of dominance against Ethereum. So are we seeing a flippening from ETH to Solana right now? And is that liquidity then going to be redistributed into the altcoins? And altcoins actually going to get a mini rally whilst ETH and Bitcoin don't really do much. That's where my head's at the moment. I'm thinking, are other altcoins like Solana and Sui, Hyperliquid actually going to have a little bit of a rally? But I do think in general, if we do get some bad macro news, or we have something that really pulls Bitcoin and ETH down, then the rest of the market will come down with it. So I don't know if this is like just a little bit of a relief, get altcoins to pump a little bit over maybe the next 1 week, and then we have that reversal and then it pulls everything down. That's where I'm at the moment.
Yeah, and this ETH to Solana chart is really interesting because we're seeing this break the 12-week exponential. Typically, that means you fall to the next key exponential moving average unless there's a major area of support above it. And so we're seeing most likely Solana to outperform Ethereum over the next week or two. And we're seeing an area of potentially a lot of support here that's maybe about like an extra 10% swing or so to the potential downside for Solana to actually outpace Ethereum here, which would make sense, particularly because when you look at Solana's chart alone, I'm actually getting long signals on the weekly chart on our Moxie indicator, and it's moving up into the right here within this channel. Whereas, again, we take a look at Ethereum, and we have the momentum is still overall positive. It's weakening, but we had a bearish break out of this ascending wedge that just has refused to fall. But still, there's a big batch of liquidity here, and I mean, you don't really need a whole lot of fancy lines on your chart to see that after this gigantic move upwards, we're starting to get like a rounding over here, right? A general loss of momentum. It doesn't take a brain scientist to see that there. Whereas on Solana, you're seeing that kind of up into the right. We're seeing more strength here. And one thing that I've been thinking about, and Doug, I'm going to stop sharing in a second. One thing I've been thinking about too is that the ETFs have changed this market dramatically, and markets always front run events. So you had the Bitcoin ETF launches markets. You had the Ethereum ETF kind of come out of nowhere and surprise everybody, and now that's become really popular because Ethereum got beat up to like $1,700 or whatever it was just like 5 or 6 months ago. It's kind of crazy to think that. And then the market finally said, now we're ready, because now we think staking gets turned on for the Ethereum ETF. So the market started front running that. And now I think a lot of those people who like to front run these things, when we've made our money on ETH, what's the next big crypto that most likely gets an ETF approval with staking? Probably Solana. And they might be front running that as well now. You also see XRP kind of, it popped off a little bit today as well after, sliding for a while. Maybe XRP gets an ETF approval. I don't know. Maybe Cardano gets an ETF approval. I haven't looked at Cardano today, but I'd be curious. But my thought is you might have an opportunity now where something like Bitcoin takes a breather and you have these other ETF related coins kind of pop up before. Whereas before, all these coins are pretty much tied to the hip of Bitcoin. Whatever Bitcoin did, they fell. So I'd like to get your thoughts, Danielle, on just like how the ETFs have changed the market. And if you have any other thoughts, like on top of that, is the four-year cycle dead?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting if you look at the ETFs at the moment. So one of the major things, there's a few people on Twitter being like, the bull market's over, no one's buying the Bitcoin ETF anymore. And you can see that the Bitcoin ETFs are not being bought as much as they were, if not at all. If anything, there's more outflows than there are inflows. But what people forget to mention on that is a lot of that sell-off, or the fact that Bitcoin's not being bought up, is the fact that institutions are now moving over to Ethereum. And you can see that in July and August, there's huge volumes of ETF flows coming into Ethereum. Over the last week, it's weakening. So there's less ETF inflows for ETH. There's a few outflows. So you could be right in saying that, okay, maybe institutions have made their money from Bitcoin, which makes sense because they've been in it for a long time. Early 2024, they've made their money. They were buying Bitcoin at like 70,000. So they've made some good money on that. Ethereum, they front run that in April. They've been buying it in July and August. They've made good money from ETH. You can see ETH is weakening, or it's stalling out in some form. And let's not forget that smart money is smart. So even if you look back on Bitcoin ETF, they started outflowing in March and didn't buy until like 6 months later, when Bitcoin started to pop off again in Q4 of last year. So they are known to do that. So that could be potentially what's happening. They're kind of slowing down their buys of Ethereum. They've made good money. And now they're waiting for the new ETFs to be approved, and they might be front running Solana. There are a lot of institutions that are buying Sol at the moment as well, and you can actually see on chain the outflows from ETH into Solana. You can see it. So it's pretty clear that there is a flippening happening between Ethereum and Solana. So I do think that Solana is the obvious choice in the short term. So yeah, that's kind of my thesis. I do think that the ETF products, if Solana gets an ETF product, game over. Like game over.
I thought that too, because like an investor is going to be like, hey, I want exposure to this whole crypto space. What options do I have? My BlackRock sales rep, and they go, oh, you got Bitcoin, and you have a few other altcoins. Like, okay, well, I want some exposure to the namesake brand. But what about this whole altcoin market? I want some exposure there. I'm like, okay, you have Ethereum and Solana. One makes 3%, one makes 6 or 7% in staking rewards. And they go, oh, I'll buy Solana. Like that'll be the end of the conversation for a lot of folks. Guys, we are getting close to the end of the show, but I want to make sure we get some requests for coins to chart from the chat. So guys, let us know what coins you want. We'll grab 3 to 5 of them or so. And Doug, I think you might already have one up.
Well, while you're doing that, this is actually, so it's funny because this is Sol ETH. So it's the inverse of what you looked at. Will, because you did ETH Sol, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here's I didn't have this chart. I drew this in what? I don't know. July 7th. I haven't opened this since then. So did the breakdown and I zoom in here, a little first retest here. This would have been the easiest short ever. So right now, though, this is a really nice bounce for the lows. So we're going to delete this because I don't care anymore.
This is what I'm talking about. You have charts from like 7 months ago. And
Yeah,
you're like, that would have been an amazing short. It's like, dude, you got to build a software or something.
Yes, one day. So as of right now, like I do see that I could see Sol outperforming ETH in the short term, but as I'm looking at charts overall, I kind of had this just like a mini epiphany, or at least what I think is going to happen. I'm going to try to manifest we get a bear trap right now between now and the rate decision, or even like a couple days before the rate decision. Wait, that's next Wednesday? Is it that fast? Right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'm going to say between now and next Wednesday, bear trap. Give at least 3 days back on the pump back up into the FOMC day, regardless of the rate decision. Although it makes sense, it's going to be the cut. I think then we basically get a nice move up, and then basically the last week of September is going to be absolute garbage, and even garbage heading into October. And then at that point, then I think, like I said it before, it was like I think we get 4 to 6 weeks of just, I'm going to call it everyone's genius season, and that's it. And then we kind of get ready to take some profits and enjoy the new year. And if anything else happens to the positive, I said before, just it's bonus. Then we move on. So let's see what happens.
All right. And I have 5 coins recorded from the audience. We have Pengu, AVAX, SWE, BNB, and then Red, which I've never heard of. And Doug, I'd like to ask Danielle, would you like to do the honors as I now hold up my Ladybug pen, which my mom gave me for Easter, and I've been trying to use up all the ink, and it's just been lasting forever. Danielle, would you like to take a crack at one of those 5 right now?
What, TA?
Yeah, for TA. Just get your thoughts on it. Pengu, AVAX, SWE, BNB, or Red?
I can definitely look at SUI because I've already got my
share your screen,
chart up for that.
Let's do that.
You share your screen, and then I'll get you over here on TikTok.
Okay, cool. Let me see if I can do this. Share screen. Okay. Can you guys see it?
I'll get it to the stage, and now we can.
Okay, sweet. SUI is one of my favorites right now. In terms of like price action, it's looking really good. I'm a very simple trader. I don't have any like major indicators or anything like that. It's just pure price action. So you can see that, this is a clear trend line here that we've come up to this kind of triangle pattern. And this is on the daily, so this is like super respected. So we've got 1 touch here, 2nd touch here, and then 3rd touch here. The green lines here would be entry points for me. So basically over the last 3 days or the last week, I've seen a really good entry point for SUI to come all the way back down to this trend line. And that's why I'm also in the camp that Solana and SUI are probably going to have really good price action, at least over the next few days to a week, maybe 2 tops. But it looks really good at the moment. We've come all the way down here. The 200-day moving average has been taken in for support, as well as exactly the same as this trend line. So the next obvious move up would be to retest this area, which would be around that 420.
Yeah, 429 or so. Oh,
yeah.
Did I say that right?
Yeah, 430 is around that. So you have a little bit of a could say a little bit of a trend here. So if we pop up to here, we need to break that to get up to this area. But in general, to me, looks really, really nice. So I'm pretty bullish on SUI right now, unless it obviously breaks this trend line. Like if it breaks this trend line, then that's not good for SUI.
Yeah,
so
all the fun and games are over.
Yeah, all the fun and games are over, especially on the daily. So.
See, that's the kind of fake out that I'd want, where it almost like comes down, it drops below, like that your second line there, that green line, like dips below was a 2.9, but immediately gets bought back up and basically almost kind of reclaims that. And like that's a trigger for me, which is a beautiful long in that level is there. Now, ideally, to your point, you don't want to lose that trend overall because it makes it a little more difficult. But depending on how long it takes to recover is going to be with the decision point. But sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's all good. So yeah, I mean, like that's kind of what I'm looking at for SUI right now. The opportunity was there a few days ago to buy in. Could we come back down and retest this area? For sure. Like I don't think that that's out of the question. But anywhere between like 325 and 290 are really, really good entry points for SUI, because what I'm looking at is if we look at SUI on the daily, like it's down a lot from its all-time high. It's from this area, down 43%, which is insane. From today's price, down 40%. So I think that this is a huge discount to get SUI at the moment. And it's currently still in its pattern. And we've come back down to test this and it looks good. So that's kind of what I'm looking at.
One of the reasons why we're seeing weakness on Bitcoin dominance. You're seeing Solana show some strength, you're seeing Sui show some strength, you're seeing XRP had a pop up today too. These are all very large market cap cryptos that if they can get a real nice run would be the reason why you see Bitcoin dominance slide that 2.5%, even if Bitcoin and Ethereum take a little bit of a breather.
Yeah, a lot of them are still in their patterns as well, and they're yet to break them, which is like really good. So even like Solana showing strength, but if we can, get out of this pattern here, this ascending wedge, like that's really bullish for Solana. So we're not out of the woods yet. Like we could still pop down and we could end up actually breaking this to the downside. But like in general, there is strength. Even hyperliquids in this kind of pattern at the moment. It's about to break it. So there's a lot of them that are the ones that are the strongest at the moment I see are staying within their patterns and are about to break out of them. So yeah, there's no like confirmed breakouts yet, if that makes sense. But that's where the dominance is coming from, in my opinion.
Okay, awesome. Doug, do you mind, because you are the fastest charter I've ever seen in my life, do AVAX, BNB, Red, and then I'll do Pengu because my Pengu chart's already ready to go.
All right, let's do, so AVAX first?
AVAX first.
So AVAX, I think we looked this last time, was probably one of the most attractive markets to trade, like when things really started moving. I had to make this smaller so we can see the time frame down here. There we go, they're a little better on TikTok. Here we go. What's this? This is January, December. Yeah, this move up and even this pullback here, everything got kind of crushed. We really wanted to kind of make that next big move up. And I just don't love, like AVAX is going to be fine, right? AVAX is going to be fine. This is a very just important level where we are right now. So I want to be trading above that level. And even if we do, push up into here, this was very painful sell-off over here. This dropped from like 40 down to $30. So even if it does pull up here, I would be surprised it did this, get more strength to come back up. But we want to get above, what's this, $26, $27, probably the most important level to get above. And until then, like I have to assume that maybe this rejects or this does pop up and then goes below, it comes down here. Again, AVAX to me, anything under like under $25 is I'm a buyer regardless, because AVAX is one of those chains that it's going to do fine. It's going to be fine. But I don't love the chart right now, if I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm. All right, there you go, guys. So if it's above and holding support above 27 cents, general rule of thumb, you're looking at a potential long signal there. If you get a rejection below and you are a dollar cost averager, you'd be looking to dollar cost average there. And finding support all the way down at $18 would be what you could potentially expect for a slide.
What's next?
Next would be BNB.
Oh, look. Yes, love it.
Look at that chart.
This one's great. This is a good one.
To build the software.
Crush. See, these are good. By the way, too, I always recommend don't ever delete. Sorry, well, I don't, because if you're disorganized like me, this is not good advice. But don't ever delete your squiggles or charts, because going back, you can then use it as, like, for me. Now I'm going to look at this. I completely forgot about this from, what was this? Friggin' June. And like, what did I not see when I put this idea out there, right, for this short that got absolutely destroyed? It's a good reflection point. So we're gonna keep that one there. We'll go to a new chart here. Let's see. This thing's a monster. Whatever CZ, he's just gonna. It's out of control. This. I don't know what you want me to tell you. This thing's super bullish. Like, it's if you're long, good job.
It's crazy.
But
man.
as of right now, it's like you should be having a plan to take profits. If you're someone who's not in BNB and you want to get in, that's a tough pill for me to swallow at this stage in the cycle. I'm not saying it can't be something that, if you're someone who wants to hold something like this for a very long time, to maybe start scaling in and looking for pullbacks. But this just looks so good. I mean, it's already kind of really making this move. And if I'm just looking at this with a blind eye, I mean, maybe you get to $1,000, but then up here sideways and maybe some pullback to get to. But beautiful chart. I'm surprised I haven't been hearing more about BNB just by looking at this here in general. Like, I didn't hear anything about meme coins, anything. It's a good chart. Now I have to check Tron. I'm sorry, because I haven't looked at this.
No, why?
On the list. Well, kind of put them in the same bucket. They're kind of just like their own, yeah, this thing's a monster too. Look at this. It's, I don't know. They're gonna make their charts look great no matter what. This is kind of a little shady, like staircase to have in here. But yeah. All right, let's
don't trust it. Like, I just
100%. Yeah.
Oh God.
Because you know the guys, so you know the game. What was the third one there, Will?
Red,
like RED.
Yeah, RED.
What the hell is this thing?
I have no idea what this is, but
where did this launch? How big is this? Looks like this is like $60 million. I don't know what the token amount is.
Daniel, we'll chart anything. There's a running joke here because on the first episode, someone was like, "Hey, I'm a cattle rancher. Can you look at cattle?" And we were like, "Oh yeah, sure." And then we were looking at the beef charts, and we were like, "Are we long? Are we long beef right now?" And then it ended up being like a phenomenal long, and we were like, "Oh shit!" So now we just have a joke where we just say long beef.
I'll do 1 second charts if you want one day. Just kind of go through it, just feel the vibe. It's vibe charting.
It feels like a 1 second kind of.
It's a great. So this at a glance, I have no idea what this is, but I really don't like this. This was clearly a pump that people are getting out. Everyone's getting out. This is where I'd be very suspect unless you were very, very bullish on the project. If you were to buy this, I would buy it on the fundamentals, not the TA. I mean, the chart looks strong, but this thing could very much just do this and bleed all the way to the rest of the year and just end up like, well, why did it not go back up? It looks so strong. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Anyway, can you take a look at cattle and then I'll pull up Pengu? Just take a look at the cattle markets. Oh, look at that long. Look at that long.
Oh my God.
This was great. I was on Coke.
Long beef.
See, so when you said Forex before too, I was kind of like, I'm also getting really intrigued by commodities. Like even watching like a cocoa price was wild, copper obviously sold off, but like just more the not obscure, the ones not the golds and the silvers, of the world, just like sugar. Like it's just really interesting to me to see how these things move in this time that we're in 2025. But this is an insane chart. So
oil's the main commodity that I look at, but that's just because of like geopolitics and stuff. Usually like oil is the one commodity that I'll look at for that, especially with like the tariff situation as well. Like I was charting oil quite heavily, and also with the Iran, the 12-day war, I was looking at oil quite closely just to see. But
yeah, you probably have, if there is ever announced in Ukraine, you'll see the price of oil go up immediately. because all the pressure that the United States and the Saudis with OPEC that they're putting on oil prices by producing so much of it to put pressure on the Russian economy, the need to do that will be erased. And then the Saudis finally get to go, all right, cool, price of oil goes up and we get paid. And then you'll see the price of oil go upwards. Usually it'd be the opposite. It'd be like, oh, okay. Actually, shouldn't it be the opposite if you think about it? And not in this case.
I wish. Sorry, I wish I was paying attention to this now. Again, this is such a beautiful, this is support levels like 67, like very clearly for years. This immediate breakdown here, so we lost 68, was this back in March, which actually I did take this short now I think about it. However, I stopped paying attention to it. So we see a move like this back up above this level that was just like, hey, nasty, quick fall back below, and then the retest right here. This is the absolute the short that I look for, or the long at the same time, where it's like a very, you're trading what you see on higher time frame. This is a weekly chart. So like I would have had 2 weeks to make that decision on that breakdown, the retest of that breakdown. And if I'm being honest, even to looking at this right now, I think oil is going to go lower. Just out of glance. Without a doubt. I mean, we're talking like down here probably, right? Something like that.
That fake out as well was the 12-day war, because oil just spiked so high and then it broke that trend. And then obviously it reversed, so then it crashed again. So yeah, it's just super interesting to see that, like from a charting perspective, what it looks like in hindsight, and then what actually was happening in real time during that period of time.
That felt like 3 years ago.
At least something's getting cheaper.
Right. What's the last one?
Except for, I just like setting up retirement in long beef. The last one is Pengu, and I start up. So let me
I want to look, but any chance to get Pengu to go lower by Pengu? Not financial advice, I could think.
Yeah, not financial advice. So a fair bit of disclaimer. I own a decent chunk of Pengu because I have been buying Pengu all in here. I also bought a little bit up here too. So just disclaimer. But I was actually, I saw Pengu in this bull flag pattern. So you have this massive pull and like this, this flag here. And I was initially looking to see if Pengu could fall into, this green area. Because what I saw here is if I pulled out in Pengu, you had this massive fall and then this explosion upwards, right? I saw this chunk of price action over here, as well as these wicks, move that over. And this would have been a great place, timed up with the 200-day exponential moving average, to have bought Pengu. I had a bunch of orders there. I still do, actually, just in case it does happen. But it looks very unlikely at this moment, particularly because there was such an empty section of price history right over here, just like this big, gigantic wick, no price history recently. So I wanted to see if we could come down and touch this. Now, what's happened since is that we have found support in this series of wicks. As you can see, they're lined up perfectly. And that has ended up being the support zone for what is right now holding as a bullish breakout of this bull flag pattern. Classic came back up, reclaimed some of the key exponential moving averages between the 12, 21, and 55. Yesterday, technically today, blasted upwards above these two general lines of resistance, however you want to draw your flag, in a conservative fashion or less conservative. And currently we're trying to hold that as support. Assuming that this holds, not looking at any other indicators, you're looking at a pretty big breakout, which I already have measured potentially going up conservatively upwards to about 5.6 cents to as high as 6.7 cents. That is a pretty damn big swing upwards of 67 to maybe even a 100% move based on its current price action right now. However, you do need to wait to make sure that this confirms and holds, right? You don't want it to buy a fake bullish breakout. However, with what we're seeing on the Bitcoin dominance chart, it does look like there's room for altcoins to pop if they're in a bullish setup, and this is definitely in a bullish setup. In fact, I'll probably buy a little bit tomorrow morning. Maybe even if you come down here, I'd love to buy, if I could, at about 3.1 cents. That's what I'd like. But that's what I'm looking at. If you guys want to know how to measure the breakout of a bull flag, you measure the pull, and the pull could be this, and you put that on top of the breakout, right? That's how we end up getting that really high area. But also, I like to have more conservative targets. So like, hey, well, what if this is just the pull? And then we get a little bit more conservative. And so I set a window where I'm happy to sell throughout and even a little bit before. And I dollar cost average my way out, just as I dollar cost average my way in. So that's what we're looking at for Pengu. And if we pull up the indicators, we actually see that the Moxie indicator is well above the zero. Well, not well, but it's above the zero, but we're seeing momentum die down, which would tell me that if we get one more big move upwards, it's probably a damn good time to be selling out of Pengu at that time, because it looks like bearish momentum is positioned to eventually make that switch from bullish to bearish. Having said that, though, I am bullish on Pengu over the long term, because I'm very bullish on what Luca's doing over there. But that's my take on Pengu. Doug, Danielle, any thoughts? Any thoughts against that?
No, I think I agree with most of that, to be honest. I'm like just bullish on Pengu in general, or bullish on Luca. It's like, you know, you're bullish on the founder. So long term, whether you buy now or wait for a dip, like overall, it's going to be bullish long term.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, hey guys, that is getting towards the end of our show. And Danielle, we always do something at the end where I just like to get your final thoughts, words of wisdom, joke, you know, a little tidbit you want to share with the audience. Just, you know, what do you have for folks here before we kind of ride our dogs and ponies off into the sunset?
I think the main thing is to just know trend is your friend. So even if we've got like a short-term pullback incoming in September, that in general Q4 is primed to be a really, really good quarter, and that we're going to have some good price action. So like, don't freak out about like short-term price action, and just be bullish, hang tight, diamond hands, and please have a take profit strategy ready.
Yeah, diamond hand, but also have a profit strategy. Hand, but like you have diamond hands, but you're like loosely holding these things.
Yeah, just slowly let them go over time. That's the
I was diamond handing Chainlink at $45 without a plan. I now have a plan. If it goes back to $45, this guy's out. I'm out. Inherited since that Elon episode on SNL underwater. Anyway, I digress.
It's the Godzilla pattern. We hosted a silly TA competition. We got to do another one where we had our community submit in their chart art, is what we call it, because I like to do things where it's like I see a dragon and a woolly mammoth fighting on this chart, and I'll like draw it out and stuff. And so one of them, the one that won, was someone drew. It was on AVAX. So it was the massive swing upwards, and then a couple little pumps of life that we saw. But the massive swing upwards was Godzilla blasting down on Tokyo, which was the cities of like, those other little bumps upwards. And so it was like the salty bag holder monster just like blasting down on future pumps. And we got to do a competition like that again. We shared the results on Twitter. I'll have to send some to you, but yeah, they're wonderful. Doug, do you have any final thoughts, words of wisdom?
No, I think Daniel took all the key points there. I mean, as of right now, like, treat September as a transitional month, and it's going to suck. And it's not saying it's going to suck. It's going to be frustrating. Right? It's going to be frustrating because it seems like things aren't going to be doing what you wanted to do. But in reality, it's like we had a good summer leading up to, like, let's just let this phase get through, and then we'll kind of go from there. So just don't over leverage, don't over trade, preserve your capital, and kind of move on. And also too, here, a shout out to Marcus. I see in the chat here. Hello, Marcus.
I was just about to say, Ponky's son, Marcus. Hope you're doing great, man. And hope you're having fun.
That's all I got. We're good.
All right. And the last thing that I'll say, guys, is yes, Danielle, aka Crypto. Oh my God, I can't talk. CryptoCrush is coming back to TikTok. But in the meantime, again, you can find her over here on Instagram.
I got you.
CryptoCrush Show. And again, blue check mark, 251,000 followers. CryptoCrush Show. Here's your profile. This is what her profile page looks like. All right. You guys can stay in touch over there. Danielle, is there any other places where it's good for folks to stay connected with you?
I think the main one is Instagram, but I do have a YouTube channel as well. Same username. And yeah, I haven't posted on there in a while, but I'm going to get back to that as well. So TikTok and YouTube coming soon. But yeah, Instagram's the main one.
Okay, guys. So keep your eyes open for CryptoCrush Show over on YouTube as well. And that is the end of Market Watch tonight, guys. Hope you all have a great rest of your evenings. Do good things. Be good people. Make a bunch of money.